According to my Mickey Mouse watch, it's 1 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. Mrs. Campisi, will you call the roll?
Just two.
Please. Steve, he's not here. Okay. Are these in order? Okay. 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 Welcome, Miss Arnold. Good to see you. Don't apologize. Didn't you watch John Wayne movies? That's right. Sign of weakness. Call the roll. Present.
Jim Anderson for Tommy Johnson.
Present.
I think we have a quorum. Thank everybody for attending today. Notice of this meeting was posted on July 27th, 2023. It is time for our country's pledge. Reverend Scobie, would you lead us, please? For the record, I know that Trustee Buck has been in Tulsa this morning. He is on his way and will be here shortly. First item is going to be our citizen participation. Everybody wrote last. I don't know how to pick. So is it Ms. Harding or Mr. Harding? Is there Harding present? Okay. Miss Swoth? Am I mispronouncing that? Swroth? Not present. I know you want to be last, Mr. Washington, but you didn't sign up today. He did? Well, then you're first, because no one else is here. You outlasted everybody, Mr. Washington.
Thank you. I should be given about 6 more minutes then, shouldn't I? Greetings, this illustrious horseshoe guest. I call you guest because, again, my taxpayer dollars was in for you. Now then, to my left, Mr. Towery, I got to pick on you today. We got a man who's been in business long enough to know that once a detainee is apprehended, fully in cuffs, under total control, there's no kind of way you're supposed to be pushing a staff member aside to stomp an individual. That's the kind of stuff you do in caveman stuff, sir. And let me tell you, I am one who strongly believes that a person have a right to due process of law. But at the same time, I do not believe that you should be still watching until that decision is reached. Why? Because this would influence others. If we take immediate action, I'm not going to step outside the realm of constitutionality. See how that works? Now then. There's no kind of way, sir, that you should be here. How come you haven't fired yourself today? Again, I have nothing personal against you. Just your antics are not something I would embrace because I'm a lover of all mankind. no matter you're pink, purple, white, gray, or blue, I'm going to be me. Now, you knew or should have known. What was it that you think you got protection by Vicky Biena? Sir, let me tell you something. Like sands in an hourglass, so are the days of you working in the capacity you're working in. I am here drawing up a complaint with Miss Biena. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. We're going to ask that you have charges filed against you. Again, not against personal, but you have to be done this way as an incentive so that others will not believe that they too can disregard the constitutionality of rights and excessive use of force being applied to people that are confined. Vicky Biena! Oh, Vicky Biena! Maybe this is something too that your law or statute protects as well too. Now, maybe you got a law, so our officers, our law enforcement, peacekeeping officers can stomp someone. We got a law that protects that now, right? Really? You tell that crap to somebody else. That's right, ma'am. I'm coming to you all. We're going to have a little fun, not today, but I'm going to still definitely have a group fun again with you. Now, maybe you can show me in closing where your law, where your statutes say that a law enforcement officer or peace officer can kick somebody down where they're apprehended. Thank you, sir. Bam! New chairman, have a great day. You I got 6 more minutes. Oh.
Okay, we'll try this again. Harding? Is there Harding? Sroth? You're up for your 3 minutes, sir. How do you pronounce your last name properly? Oh, Harding. Okay, you're Harding. Fine. Thank you. Other side.
Okay. I was speaking on like the inmate Latrell, Dina Latrell Kirpin, and he was in jail, like for a charge and everything like that. It's pretty sure like someone in your family that went to jail, had an incident, something like that, and was able to have fair care so that they can have another chance. And he was dead for 6 hours, and like the safety check of you guys, the officers on duty, they're supposed to come around every hour. So how do you sleep for 6 hours? And so it's just a lot of things that it's things that the system didn't do. That's already a part of the system, and that's the justice that we're looking for. Not the fact that he went to jail or anything like that. It's the fact that doing the job that's supposed to be done for the community. That's the only way that we get better. If someone mess up, to be able to show that be able to be seen a way to go and do better. And it was a lot of people that loved him, and actually like there's going to be more people that's come and be willing to speak and everything like that. But I was just talking with someone, and she was like let me see, let me get to that. She said, so you mean to tell me that poor man died all by himself, left for 6 hours? What kind of system is that? She said, I really want to cry right now. She said, whoever the guards were should get prison time. They shouldn't get away with letting Latrell die. That was my best friend. Even though we didn't see eye to eye, he was a good person and will be missed. And so it's like we look at him like he's a criminal when he's really a good person. Like we all have our mistakes, and yeah, the system should be done properly, done not our way, but the way it's wrote to be done. And I know I'm speaking in poorly terms, especially speaking in front of you guys, but. If I did have the knowledge, like if I was able to get the lawyer, he would be able to hit you guys with exactly the points that's already in you guys' system, and that's only justice we're looking for. Like, yeah, for sure.
Thank you for your time, sir. Poplin? Poplin? Jody Poplin?
Hi. Last month, I don't know if any of y'all or all of y'all have been by the county to see the memorial garden. Have you? Okay. And I'm working really hard on that and to get that soil deeper to keep those flowers alive. and Mr. C and Tony Towery, they made sure that I got a hose long enough and a sprayer. And I appreciate that. But Lowe's needs a letter for me and my foundation in fuller detail of what I need, and they will donate it all to me. It won't be donated to the jail, it won't be donated to the trust, but to me. And I will be able to go up there and do what I need to do to make sure that they stay alive, especially through the winter. And then, Mr. Scobie, last month you gave me your new cell phone number, and I reached out to you when we were going to have the candlelight vigil and asked you to please come pray with us and to say a prayer for those inmates that passed and to say a prayer for the inmates that are still in there. And you didn't. A vacation or not, I wish you would have just texted me back and let me know, hey, I was on vacation. And I'd have been happy with that. However, I did get someone to come and do that. He's a preacher and he's a police officer. But he did come and help me. Your bed bugs are bad again. They're bad. They're horrible. And Tony has spoken with the people whose formulation y'all were using that was working. But you have to use it correctly in order for it to kill those bed bugs. But it was working. I stood here and told all of y'all that I'm getting less and less phone calls about these bed bugs. Well, now I'm back to getting more about them because it's not being used the way it's supposed to be used. But I really, really would appreciate that letter so I can get what I need from Lowe's because they said they would donate it. And I can talk to you later about what it needs to say, what it is that I need. When I tried to talk to Miss Gardner last month about it, she told me to go talk to Miles about it. Miles told me talk to all y'all about it. Okay. Y'all need to point me in the right direction.
Sorry, but your time's up. Just being fair to everybody.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
Last person is Tamia. She present?
I'll take a place.
You'll take her place. I guess we're bending the rules.
Hello. Um, so I don't really know where to start what to say, but I'm just gonna say what's on my heart. But first of all, I just wanna reread about the garden. That is there. If you guys could please just get that letter, get it signed, then donations can come through. We can keep it growing, keep it thriving, so forth. And then I just want to speak on the behalf of a friend, a brother, an uncle, a son, Gino, who was literally in a cell for 6 hours, not being checked on, no food, no water, no nutrients. And you guys left him there, basically, let's be real, left him there to die. Like, you guys do not care. And I guess the question that I have is, how would you feel if that was your child? How would you feel if that was your daughter? Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone goes through things. We fall, but we get back up. And it just is so heartbreaking. It's not just him, it's several. I mean, after he passed away, it was still going, and it just makes it look like that you guys are the problem. Like, what are you guys doing wrong? um so yeah, and I just want you to know that he was just so caring, so nice, so loving. I spent hours with him in my home. He always reached out to me. He always came back. I mean, he loved people. He loved giving. He loved helping. And I just feel like he didn't deserve any of that. And I just feel like you guys that are sitting up here on this board need to get your shit together and figure out what's right. Like, get your head out of your ass, get it together, stop acting perky, stop acting pricky, don't act like you're better than everyone else. Put yourself in somebody else's shoes, and maybe your perspective would change. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
You turn it. This is so hard to read. What day was, I said August, I said July 27th. I need to correct it to August 4th. For the record. Thank you very much. Next, we'll have the approval of the minutes. Any corrections or additions to the minutes? You received those when the agenda was passed.
Motion to approve minutes.
Is there a second? Thank you. Mrs. Campisi. We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll. Yes.
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 Motion passes 7-0. Next, we have the invoices and claims as of August 7th. That's today. Discussion. Questions? Motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Mrs. Campisi, please call the roll. Item number 2. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Mrs. Garner, you are up. Item number 3, your report. These items she's discussing are in order in your packet in front of you.
There's this one. Right there. So just click to go. Good afternoon. Today you're going to see a number of presentations, so mine is going to be somewhat brief. I'm just going to cover some brief updates, let you know the status of the medical OR bonds, give you some operational statistics, and talk about a facility tour that we had in Nashville a couple weeks ago. Our employee update, we're currently at 265 employees. In July, there were 4 terminations for cause. 12 employees resigned or they were asked to resign, and 2 employees retired. The majority of the resignations that left, they did so for a higher paying position. We do have plans to hold an on-site hiring event at the end of this month. We don't know the date just yet. We have had quite a bit of success when we've done these in the past, and so we're really hoping that we'll have a good turnout for this one as well. In addition to that, Major Logan attended a job fair this weekend, and it was intended to help employees who have recently been let go from an industry. And my understanding is there were a couple of hundred people there that were all out of work, that were looking for work, and they may be good candidates for employment at the jail. And we're just continuing our efforts online with social media, Indeed, and trying to get qualified applicants through the door. Our next academy is scheduled August 21st. So far, we do have 12 scheduled to attend. And I need to mention that we are undergoing some changes to our training division. I think this is one source of the issue with retention. I think that we need to better prepare our staff to work in the environment that they're working in. Therefore, we're expanding the academy from just over 2 weeks to, the goal is 6 weeks, but I think this next academy will be 4, and then we're gonna adapt as we move forward. We've also got somebody new in charge of training after the retirement of our previous training lieutenant, and I'm looking forward to his experience and his education. in creating a curriculum that I think is more suitable for the type of work that we're tasked with doing. Um, In addition to that, we're going to do 6 weeks of on-the-job training. This is going to help with building relationships with our staff that are there, doing it under close supervision, allow for mentoring, and I do think that this is going to help quite a bit with retention. They're going to get to experience all the different areas, different shifts during that time. It'll allow us better time to evaluate their suitability for employment, and we're just really excited moving forward. We've actually moved training back on site. That's fully operational now. We are making some cosmetic changes down to the training room, which will be in the basement. We'll need some equipment that we'll be purchasing in the near future. But overall, this is just, I think, a better setup than trying to have training off-site. Here's some interesting statistics about our current employees. As you can see, the majority of our employees are female. And you can see that the majority of our employees are also part of the millennial or Generation Z. And then there's some racial statistics, the racial makeup of our detention staff. Our medical OR bonds, we've identified 31 in July. 19 remain in custody. There's a variety of reasons why they're listed out on the PowerPoint. We did get 12 people out of custody. Some of them did end up bonding out before the medical OR process took place, but by and large, we are seeing a lot of success in identifying these folks earlier on and getting them out of custody so they can get the medical care that they need. This is bookings by agency. This is just for July. You can see our #1 customer is OCPD, followed by Oklahoma County, and then Edmond. 1,436 people were brought into the jail by Oklahoma City alone in July. And that's close to what our population currently sits at. Our daily head count, you can see it fluctuates daily. This is just through July. We averaged 62.25 bookings per day. The average daily population was 1,477, and the average length of stay for people that were booked in July alone was 6.35 days. Also wanted to include this just because I find it interesting and it's very telling of the makeup of our population. This is all of our special housing. So at the bottom, you'll see AS, that's administrative segregation, PC is protective custody, MHO, or people that are on mental health observation, SP1 are people that are on active suicide precautions, DS is disciplinary segregation, and then JNS, of course, is going to be those that are sentenced to DOC. Two of the most notable I've called out here, DOC, you can see it really never goes below 200. In fact, it sometimes fluctuates up to 215, 220. We are working to try to get that population down, but they're still only pulling 20 a week. And so that just keeps our numbers increasing. And then our mental health observation, just something to note, you can see somewhere around 150 people at any time are undergoing some sort of mental health observation in our jail. Just some more information about our current population. As of August 4th, our population was 1,458. Compared to the year before, we were at 1,620. I would say that's progress in making sure that we manage our population better. Overall, 87% were male. There's some racial demographics up there. You can see we have 41 veterans, 93 homeless people, and all of this is self-reporting. 211 are sentenced as of today. 176 are age 50 plus, and 8 of them have a bond with $5,000 or less. And then over to the right, over 297 people are in custody for less than a $10,000 bond. And this is just a graphic showing the trend, the downward trend of our population. Then I want to talk about our tour to Davidson County. We got to see a number of the different parts of the facility. This facility is an 810-bed facility. It was completed in 2020. They have 60 beds for a behavioral care center, which is something that's actually a diversion from criminal charges. And then this slide shows some of the behavioral care center, and then on the left you'll see some of the direct supervision pods. So for the behavioral care center, I just found that really interesting because they have a way of diverting people with misdemeanor charges that have very strict criteria to get treatment versus trying to get them in jail first and book them in on our charges. Once they complete the program, they are eligible for release without any criminal charges on their record. And then as far as the direct supervision on the left, I've seen a number of direct supervision jails before. This really wasn't any different, but one thing that I did find interesting is that they do use a prefabricated cell, which I'd never give a lot of consideration to before, but there's some advantages to that. It's made out of steel, so it's hard to damage. It comes prefabricated with all of your utilities and fixtures in place. It allows for a smaller footprint because you're not having to build through concrete walls. And I didn't notice any notable noise coming from them, as I would expect if you were in a steel cell. Biggest thing for me is the fact that you wouldn't be able to dig through them like we can in our current facility. One of the things that he mentioned, and he meaning the chief of that operation, that he would like to have seen when the direct supervision was designed is open space, a window or a door between the different pods so officers can communicate and see each other so they don't feel so isolated. So moving forward, that will be something that we'll keep a close eye on when they're getting into the planning stages of the design. They also had an open booking area, which we have explored for our own facility for quite some time. It's just really difficult to do in the current facility. Moving forward, hopefully the new facility will take this into consideration. I think this is the right direction. People that are otherwise compliant, they need to be out and have some freedom of movement under supervision. And then those that are a little bit more aggressive or combative, they have individual cells along each side of the wall, which makes it easier to manage that entire area. And then of course, in the middle of it, you have an officer workstation. They also have a medical facility, and this was definitely new to me, but they had a fully equipped dialysis center, and that would save us a lot of time and effort with our transports because we tend to have people in our custody that require dialysis pretty often. And then the last thing I wanted to note is that they invested a lot in their employees, and as we went through the planning of new institution, training with the NIC, they recommended that that be a consideration when we're going forward with planning this. They have invested in a cafe. You can see the picture at the bottom. It's a full service cafe. It's separate from the detainee kitchen. It was currently not operational, but they have a number of fresh foods and snacks available in a cooler that officers can come and get at no charge. That's kind of on the honor system, but they really seem to appreciate that. They had a great gym, a wonderful locker room, and free underground parking. All of these little things really help with employee satisfaction and ultimately retention. And then I want to note that their salary starts at $50,000, and after 6-month probation, they're making $55,000. I don't have any exact figures, but in my brief research, it seems like the cost of living in Nashville is only about 14% higher than it is here, and it doesn't translate well when you look at their salary versus ours. So just something to keep in mind. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions? Mr. Buck?
Director, I'm going to run through 4 quick questions
Okay.
resulting from the presentation today. And you may have answered some of these in the past, and if you have, I apologize for not taking good notes previously.
Sure.
Of your current population, how many would you suggest are currently receiving dialysis?
Right now, off the top of my head, maybe 2.
2. Okay. In your reference to the OR program, from the time you request OR until the decision is made, what's your average time? Ballpark me. you're not prepared for the questions, I understand, but I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
A lot of it depends on the urgency. If it's very urgent, sometimes we can get them in the same day.
Okay.
Overall, I would say it takes a couple of days, but the DA's office has worked really well with us in trying to expedite them.
Okay. Two more.
Okay.
Relative to the population that is DOC sentenced, from the time of conviction or the time that they are ready to move to DOC custody, what's the average time for a inmate to be in your care that is DOC bound?
Don't have exact figures, but I would say months.
Months?
Mhm.
Okay. And then the final question on that same chart, you recognize the number of individuals under mental health observation. Again, and I will take your best guess on this. Of those individuals, what, 150-ish, what percentage of those would the records indicate were actively engaged in treatment at the time of their arrest?
That's a very good question. This is a guess, an educated guess.
Mhm.
I would say a very low percentage.
Is that something maybe the medical team could pull data on? I'd be interested in talking about that number at a subsequent meeting.
I think so.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I have a
Excuse
question
me.
on the
Excuse me.
out of
Ms.
county
Arnold.
hold. On the out of county holds, how long do you have to hold someone before you can release them if the county doesn't come pick them up?
I would have to defer to Major Logan on this one. I've heard it's 10 days, but in a lot of times, based on my experience, we can extend that if the county is having issues picking them up or the state is having issues picking them up.
Are you able to charge the county?
I don't see why not. It's kind of always been a courtesy to other agencies because we don't want them starting to charge us for holding our inmates.
Yeah, she's right. I mean, if we start charging people for, what we customarily call courtesy holds, then they're gonna start doing that to us, and it's just, there's more people chewing at the pie that we're all vying for pieces of, so.
Would the jail have to pay for the people who are in other jails out of county? Or who would have to pay that?
That's a complicated question. I don't know.
Hypothetical, I don't know the answer to.
Yeah.
That's a Robin Peter to pay Paul. How about that?
And I would
It's
say the
still gonna come
number,
out of the bottom line of the county, one way or the other, so.
I'm still representing the jail, not the county on
Right.
this one.
I would say that the number is low enough that it's going to be inconsequential to our bottom line. It doesn't seem that we have very many people there on holds for very long, maybe 2-3 days at a time.
Okay.
We can collect data on it though to see.
Please do.
Okay.
So your DOC custody running about 200.
Yep.
What is how much do we receive statutorily from DOC?
$27 a day,
What's our actual cost per day?
closer to
according
about
our
$60 a
MPT?
day.
So if you want to make some big ground up, there's where we can make some big ground up. There was a Supreme Court case, Bryan County versus Department of Corrections. If you were able, and if we tracked, as my understanding, if we tracked each individual and what each individual's cost was, we can actually submit that back to the state. Is that?
That's correct.
And then we get that actual cost. So is there a way that we can start submitting those types of things upon their delivery to DOC per individual?
Yes, this is in progress. So my understanding, the reading of that statute is that we needed to submit a letter, certified letter by September of whatever year it is. That letter has already been sent last year. And my understanding is it's kind of hung up with some attorneys. So I've got some information that we'll be kicking back over to them, and hopefully we'll be able to recover some of the cost.
Are we able to charge for the medical expenses also?
Yes.
It's actual cost per individual. So even if, the way that I understand it,
It's a flat rate.
even if it's $100 a day for this one individual, if we show that cost and can show that cost to the state, they are obligated to pay it.
Then do
Or
you
if
need-
it's $500 a day for that one individual, or if they have dialysis and we got to charge them $1,500, if we are able to establish and show that actual cost, Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do we need a vote or something in order to authorize Brandy to start
Oh, she's
creating these
already
costs?
doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've already
She's already doing it.
started the process.
Yes.
And you have a good attorney who can help you now.
Yes, I do.
Jury's still out on that issue.
My votes, yes, we do.
Yeah, I agree. For the record, I call Lexington about our J&S count about once a week.
Okay.
And there are promises out the wazoo, but nothing ever happens. So I'm not surprised we're hung up around 200.
It should be nice to have 200 less people in that facility.
Sure would be.
Yeah.
Make it easier on staff.
Ms. Gardner, are we still seeing an influx from Friday or from Thursday to Sunday of a certain population brought in by Oklahoma City Police Department, a homeless population?
It would appear so.
Okay. So I think we still need to have some work to do with the Oklahoma City Police Department in order to slow that down.
One of the biggest issues that I'm having right now is that they're not giving us a heads up when they're bringing in a mass number of people. That's something that we had previously talked about and quasi agreed to, but it's just not happening. And my understanding is maybe last week or the week before, they had brought in a large number of people from one of their numerous sting operations. Actually, I think it was they were doing warrants for violent crimes, and they brought in quite a few people. So as far as our numbers go, that's been a huge issue because we are, short-staffed on the receiving side of things.
If they were to give us some sort of heads up, we could actually staff up for something like that.
Yeah, and we've done it in the past. They don't have to give us any details of the operation. They don't have to tell us when or where. Just tell us a time frame and let us know so we can be adequately prepared and call in officers for overtime.
Have we talked with Chief Gorley? Has anybody talked with Chief Gorley about, just giving us a heads up or?
I have.
Okay.
Are our costs higher for bookings on weekends, Friday through Sunday?
I don't have an answer for that.
Just guessing, would our costs be higher because we would have to keep them in the holding cell for longer until we're able to move them up?
I think the only way to say that it would cost more is the fact that we would need to call in people for overtime.
It's always a staffing issue.
It's a staffing issue for sure.
Any other questions or comments for Mrs. Garner? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept her report.
Motion.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Buck. Mrs. Campisi, please call the roll. We have a motion and a second. Item number 3. Yes.
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 Thank you for your vote. I believe it was unanimous. 7-0. We go on to item number 4. Why does this thing not cooperate? Anybody have any ideas? That will be Mr. C in our financial report. What reports are you talking about? I think it's on the agenda. Oh, there you go. This also is in your packet, should be the second one from Mr. C. Thank you, please.
Where's the mouse? Where's the mouse?
I don't know.
You go.
Here, I'll let you figure that out.
Thank you, Mark, for your assistance.
Let me go to resume slideshow. Resume slideshow. There you go. Hi there. No. All right, good afternoon. All right, here are some of the final budget numbers for fiscal year 22 and 23. And we'll start with the revenue. The total revenue was 39.7 million. That's above the budget by 1.2 million. And we had 32.9 million were from Oklahoma County General Fund. And we had some increases across the board. The biggest increase was fee and reimbursement. There was 433,000. Majority of these were from the reimbursement of detainees' medical assessment fees. And 230,000 of those were reimbursement from the first 2 years when the trust took over. These were not reimbursed at the beginning, so we got everything reimbursed last September, about 230,000. And now we are averaging about 15,000 a month. So that's about 180,000 a year for the medical assessment fees. Other increases that were from DOC, and we had an increase from Department of Correction, and there was by 323,000. We did have more this year than last year. I believe last year the average for the DOC it's about 180, 185 maybe, and then it has gone up a little bit this year. So that's why we had an increase on those. And jail phones, the contract with the cities, and commissary, we had increases in all of them. And this revenue includes the 500,000 we got from Oklahoma City. So that was part of the revenue. For the total expenses for fiscal year 22-23 were 38.5 million. And payroll and benefits were below budget by 754,000. And M&Os were below budget by 369,000. We will continuing monitoring our expenses and implementing cost-saving measures without compromising health and safety of our detainees and our staff members. And these savings are not affecting any of those. And we were able to find ways to save money and keep everything going. As we all know, the detention centers often faced with tight budgets. At the beginning of the year, we were facing budget constraints due to increased operational costs. It was a very challenging last 7 months, and I worked closely with all departments and vendors to identify areas for cost savings and reallocate our resources strategically. With that said, we ended the fiscal year with a net income of 1.1 million. Do you have any questions? Oh, as of today, we have our bank balance, our cash balance. As of this morning, we are at 1.5 million in our bank after paying all the invoices and all payroll in July. So we have 1.5 million.
Any questions? Mr. C, I have one.
Okay.
The document that we all received in
Mhm.
advance of the meeting started out the general fund, Oklahoma County. It was 0 for June. Can you explain that in your first paragraph of your memo that we received 2 payments in January caused by a clerical error?
Yeah, it was back in January when county payroll, they accidentally pay, well, it's clerical error, and they overpaid the RIS by $638,000. And at the time, without the 638,000, we were not able to pay all our bills for the following month. So the county agreed to pay us a month early, and without knowing when we will receive the 638,000 from the IRS, so county had agreed to pay us a month early for the remaining of the fiscal year, and that was a $2.7 million. And we received all the money until May, and so that's why we didn't get the money in June because of that reason. But we do have all the money in the bank now, and we have a balance of 1.5 million as of this
And
morning.
that's after June's bills have been paid?
Yes, after July bills, and the one
After
that
July bills have been paid?
and the one we just approved this morning. Yeah, right now.
It would be nice if we had access to that before the meeting in your
Um,
future documents.
Okay. Yeah, I will make sure that I include that.
So restate the cash balance as of July 31st or August 1st.
Okay.
What is that amount?
As of August, July 31st.
Or August 1st, either one. Pick your poison.
Uh,
What is the cash balance? Because I'm reading here, you have a ton of bills.
And that invoice, that statement is for the June payment.
I understand that, but there's
Okay.
no July payment. I mean, there's no July information.
Yeah, that one is not because we just finished the July, and we had to wait for payroll for July, and they just wrapped those up, and I don't have the final information
So
yet.
we're approving these in arrears after you've paid bills? Is that what's going on?
No, you're approving something that let me see. So what we are approving this today, it's for all the bills for July. And last month we approved all the bills for June.
Okay,
So we are
I just
a
want to
month,
make sure that's the way we're operating
right?
and the numbers follow that operational procedure.
Hmm.
We need to get together and do some work on these.
Right. And we posted the revenues and the payroll expenses at the actual month because the payment for July is not approved until August, and we don't do the requisition until August. So it's posted in August. So that's
So-
why
Are we behind on our bills?
no, it's all current.
Not a one,
No.
okay?
Yeah. As of today, after we pay every bills for July, and we have a balance of 1.5 million.
And we're current with all the billing thus far in August.
Yes.
Any other questions from anyone?
I do. Does it look like we're going to stay ahead by the 1.1 million or so
Yes.
for the next couple of months?
Yes.
Then where do we need to get authorization in order to raise salaries for our employees so they at least make the least amount of any other county employee?
We're gonna put together. I've talked to CEO Garner, and then we're gonna look into that, and then figure out a number. And I think we should know in a few weeks. By the end of the week, and we will be able to have an answer for that, and then we're working on that for a pay raise.
And this is a low bar, but just trying to get our employees' salaries at whatever, at the, what is it, 52,000 or 50,000 a year would, that's still a pretty low bar for the jobs they do.
Mhm.
How do we get there?
How do we get there right now? And I can assure that this money that we have right now, it will cover with the minimal raises that we are looking at. And there's still plenty of room that we can still make adjustment on how we spend our money, and to have a better inventory control, and to make everyone accountable for what they use at facility, our staff. And then by doing that, I think we will be able to find ways to have more money to cover raises.
Do we have to get approval from anyone outside of the trust to do that?
The county allocated the payroll budget to us, and that's for 320 FTE, full-time employees. And we're gonna keep that 320 full-time employees. And because we are able to, for all the money that we have from the county general fund and all these other revenues that we were able to come up with, and we're gonna use this money, all the extra, and to allocate that money to put into payroll. I don't think we have to go to the county for that. This is something that we were able to cut costs without affecting the well-being of our detainees and staff members. And I think this is something that's very positive that we were able to do that, and to show appreciation to our employees that we were able to cut costs to give them a pay raise.
I appreciate you doing that. I really
Thank
do.
you.
So this may be just clarifying what she said, but the county allows us a budget for employees.
Right.
They're significantly underemployed from what the number of employees we need is.
Yes.
So for this fiscal year, couldn't we use that money? Is that what we're saying, to increase the base salary for correction officers coming in to help? If we're not going to have 320, we could at least pay more and get closer to 300 than where we sit today.
Yeah, because these are money that we were able to come out with by spending our time and look into, by doing a cost analysis and see where we can reallocate our fund and to use it more wisely. And
So you're going to be able to present something at the September meeting on this proposal?
yes, and we will have our final budget numbers after we make all these adjustments for the fiscal year, and mostly the payroll, and that's the biggest. And then we will have that numbers, and then we'll
It'd be nice for all of us to see this a week in advance, the trustees.
and we will have that before the next meeting. And
We're down to 265 employees, of that 119 detention officers.
now we have to pay better to recruit better.
That's
and,
exactly the point.
And
Yes.
retain these people, because and a lot of people that apply for job now, and they just need something to pay their bills. And it happens every month during training. We have people that quit because they found another job.
Understand.
And this is it costs us too much for training, and turnover is the most expensive cost in payroll. And we're not going to waste our time, and we just got to pay better to recruit better to retain our employees.
Any other questions for Mr. C? Any comments? I'd entertain a motion to accept his report.
Motion.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Thank you very much. Mrs. Campisi, please call the roll. Yes.
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 Yeah.
Next, we have Jeff Alma. An update, something positive.
I think so.
hope. Good. It's the right answer.
Okay. So real quick to start, I'm just going to go over some response statistics that I collected from the month of May. And then after that, I'll go through the network project and where that stands and what that means for us. So during the month of May, we answered and responded to 14,588 emergency calls. All of those come into our central control operations center, and we respond to it from there, depending on what the issue is. 70 inmates were sent out to the hospital. We used 4 overdoses. We had 4 overdoses on 4 individuals, and we used 13 Narcans on those 4 individuals. We kept all of them with us for that month, and we of those. Okay, so of the 70 that went to the hospital, we spent 814.35 hours sitting on them at a cost of $28,502.25. That adds up to 23% of the total month of May we spent on the phone answering emergency calls. 10,452 out of 44,640 total minutes. In a typical shift, they log about 315 log entries, and that goes from anything to site checks, pod activity, things going in and out of the pod, meds, food, all the activity that goes on in a pod or an area gets logged by central control. Moving on to the network project. So what we hope to accomplish with this, or what we will accomplish with this, we'll migrate all information services from the county MIS help desk to our help desk. That'll reduce everything to one support contact for information services. We will have the capability to log all of our activities electronically. I'm talking about site checks, meal and med disbursements, all those sort of things. Things that are right now handwritten in a paper log. I expect this project to take roughly 90 to 120 days to complete. Part of that is Wi-Fi throughout the facility and mobile devices that'll be used to capture that data that I mentioned a second ago. The electronic logging, it'll reduce the time spent that we search logbooks for information. We'll have reports and data and other information readily available. We will use facial recognition to confirm proper cell location of inmates in real time. Logistically, we should be a lot more efficient in doing that. What I anticipate is that we will reduce man hours by 108 man hours per day, roughly 39,420 for the year. So that will allow our staff to be more productive with other tasks, and they'll be able to be more responsive to other needs as they come up. I believe that we will be able to reduce the time it takes to complete inmate reconciliations, that's where we go and we verify that they are where the system says they're supposed to be. I believe that currently takes roughly 8 hours per day, and I believe we'll be able to reduce that to about 2 hours a day. We'll have, like I said, real-time identification and verification that the entire population is housed in the correct cell. As we find people that aren't in the correct cell, we'll be able to update that also in real time. I believe that with this project, we will reduce the amount of paper consumption that we utilize in the year. I believe that we'll be able to reduce that by about 1.6 million sheets. That'll save about $40,000 a year just in paper and ink production costs, which that equates to between 80 and 160 trees per year. Also, in development, we're working on a collaboration site to use between ourselves, the sheriff, and the judges and their bailiffs to improve communication and get information back and forth in real time. That'll greatly improve interagency communication and efficiency overall as it relates to criminal justice in the county. I'm also working on an automated email notification system it'll send an email based on database triggers that we define. A couple examples would be someone refuses a meal or medication. If those conditions are present, it'll send an email in real time. That just allows us to be more responsive to things that need our attention. Other things it'll notify on is someone is booked in on a warrant, someone with mental health conditions is booked, and really just about anything that we define, we can track and notify based on that. Timelines, the total project, and part of that is the mobile that I expect to take about 90 days. The Wi-Fi and network portions I expect to take roughly 75 days, and the email portion I expect to take about 2 weeks. And of course, I'll build an update, and I'll keep you guys updated each month as we move along.
Thank you. Any
Any
questions?
Questions?
You, Mr. Buck.
Jeff, thank you. Thank you for the report. Director Garner has indicated that this is one of the most significant change projects that has been initiated in her tenure. And I want to validate the importance of this. And so I appreciate you alluding to your timelines. I think in conversations with the chairman, we're going to ask you back each month, and we're going to hold you accountable to that timeline. We know there's always things that may happen, but I think that if this truly is an important change process, then we want to make sure that we're regularly updated. So thank you
Absolutely.
for your leadership in this.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to congratulate you. I know that IT specialists of your caliber are in extremely high demand, and I appreciate you working with the Joe. Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine.
So a part of the accountability, when's this kick off?
So I've actually already kicked off. I'm in progress on all of this.
What day are we? On
In-
your 120, 90 to 120 days.
That 90 days is from the day of this report.
Good.
Um,
That's fair.
yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
As far as that goes, I'm only about 2 weeks into the
Good.
project.
Good. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, sir, for your report. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Did I miss somebody? No. Okay, Mac Mullings, gonna hear his report, educational, rehabilitative, and other programmings
Let's see if I can do this correctly.
for detainees.
Oh, she's got it over there, huh? Am I selecting mine is what I do? Okay. I can't, and I'm still trying to process what Jeff was talking about. It's beautiful. Let's make it work. I don't know what you're talking. It's great. Okay. So I am the programs coordinator for the Oklahoma County Detention Center. And what that means is I get to collaborate with different organizations and outside agencies to design, develop, and implement educational programs and recreational programs. Thank you, brother. Yeah. You give me a microphone, I'm comfortable at computer things blowing my mind. Now, do I click the mouse the right one? You got to give me directions. L makes a. I get to work with outside agencies and organizations to bring in programs for the detainees. I have met the most beautiful individuals that I've ever met in my life in that building, and they were orange. And I posted some photos on here too, just to show you what happens in that building. We've had hygiene kits donated. We've had feminine products, Narcan, things like that. The picture is from an event we did with Prison Fellowship, where we had a Hope event. Somebody shared some testimonies, and we had live music and things of that nature. So I love being able to. Mark, is it the right one or the left one? Okay, here we go. Calm Waters. This is a great partnership that we created. I say we. It was all God navigating this with his divine coordination, but there were many people that made it work. Calm Waters, they host grief support groups in the detention center. They started in January, and it's a 9-week course, about 10 participants, currently in their third round of them. So that would be about 50 people, men and women, that they've helped with this, and the feedback has been phenomenal. When I met with Aaron from Calm Waters and we talked about what kind of grief lives in that building, you would not even be able to imagine. Grief is not just the loss of a loved one, it's the loss of your house, your job, finances, relationships, all of it. Even when you break up, when I got sober, I broke up with alcohol. You're grieving that relationship. So that building, a lot lives in that building. And so I'm just proud of the fact that we have Calm Waters and they're successful, and The men will meet tomorrow and the women meet on Wednesday, and they're continuing. Also, Stand in the Gap Ministries, Women in Transition, they meet on Thursdays at 1 o'clock. They educate women anger management, codependency, boundaries, healthy boundaries, relationship issues, and things of that nature. And also, we partnered with Team. This happened when I was in Israel on a pilgrimage, but I'm really grateful for this. But we partnered with Team and the Regional Food Bank of Oklahoma to create opportunities for detainees that participate on the job training at Regional Food Bank. And then they also are able to get certificates in culinary arts and warehouse and things of that nature. But again, behind all of that, they're teaching them life skills and how to handle life as it comes, anger management, all these different things that'll be valuable as they move forward in their life. And it's actually sentenced individuals that do that. So either 90 days or a year in the detention center. Things we're working on and hopefully going to get going. We've had discussions with Palomar regarding peer support groups for victims of domestic violence. And also with that, it's down further, but Batter's intervention program, I'd love to get BIP in there, and I'll talk to Mr. Steele later on about how we can partner up with that. True Dads and mentoring and parenting classes. And one of the most important things down here on the bottom, Wounded Warrior Foundation, peer support for our staff. That jail is an easy target, sometimes rightfully so, but we have men and women that really do give their blood, sweat, and tears in that building, and they work hard. I don't know all the officers. I don't know the ones in the overnights, but the ones I do know, they're salt of the earth, and we need to take care of their mental health, and that's why I hope we can partner up with Wounded Warrior for a peer support program. Wings organization, I don't have the numbers for 2022, but in 2021, they donated close to 11,000 hygiene kits to us. Shred the Stigma, we just received 3,000 kits of Narcan the other day. Period OKC is an organization here in Oklahoma City, of course, and they donate our feminine products. And we have games, coloring books, recreational items from an agency that was nice enough to loan all this stuff to us. So with all that being said, I could stand up here and tell you how staffing has been an issue. I don't need to talk about that. You already know that. But good things happen in that building, really. There's nothing like joining a prayer circle when you got 30 guys up there or ladies, and they're talking about how good God is working in their life. So it happens. And that's my report. I'm grateful to be here. Sorry about that. I rambled.
You're still on staff. Don't worry.
Okay, good. I'm not going to peek slip when I get back?
No.
All right.
No.
Okay.
Any questions or comments? Sorry.
I do. And I also realize you're very comfortable with the phone.
Very uncomfortable, is that what you said? Oh, okay, thanks, sir.
The True Dads mentoring.
Yeah.
Elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, so they have a partnership right now with DHS, but ideally, if they came into the county, what would happen is that, and there's a lot of moving parts. You'd have to get participants but there's classifications and things of that nature. But perfect world, put it in a box, wrap it with a bow. We have men that are dads, and we have the co-parents that would come to the facility, and the classes would be on a weeknight, and they would talk about reconciliation and how to co-parent and things like that. And there's a course. I'm trying to remember exactly how long the course would be, but it teaches them parenting, not making a bottle, not changing a diaper, but really being a dad and feeding into your kids and showing them that this is how you stand up with integrity. The building is overpopulated, but again, I meet the most beautiful people in the building, man, and they're just like us. We just had a bad run, and some of them are where they want to be. Some of them need the help and the love, and that's what we're trying to give to them. So I think True Dads would be great.
I would appreciate if you keep us updated on how the
Yes, sir.
program's progressing, how many people are involved that we're actually helping.
Yes, sir.
Because I think programs like this, a lot of times people need hope, and a connection to your children can be incredible.
Oh, man.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you for
Thank you, sir.
thinking about staff as well.
Yes, sir.
I
No,
worry about staff all the time, given the fact our numbers are so slim. It puts extra stress on the men and women who are doing a hell of a job.
Oh, it's a mission field inside that building serves a mission field.
Thank you for
Yes,
thinking
sir.
about it. Thank you for your report. Is there a motion to accept Mr. Mulling's?
Motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mrs. Campisi, please call the roll. Yes.
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 Excuse me, I believe it's unanimous. It passes. Thank you very much. We'll move on to number 8. Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority Citizens Advisory Board. How about some more words to that title? Speaker Steele, please. Did I miss Curtis?
Yeah, we missed number 6.
I missed number 6. We'll go back and make up for that. I apologize. No, Mr. Steele, come on, come on. Don't want you to walk back and forth. I didn't see you back there. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say before we get started, I don't think you realize how daunting it is to stand in front of you and then for you to say if you don't get the technology right, you're going to lose your job. I mean, that's good stuff.
What he doesn't know is I was serious.
Yeah. Listen, so many things. I just want to start out by saying so many things. We need to celebrate the fact that we had a super successful warrant clearinghouse event last Friday. Something like 150, 180 warrants were erased. That means that those individuals avoided going to the county detention center. So kudos to our county leaders, to our judges for making that happen. I also want to start off by saying to the staff at the Oklahoma County Detention Center, we celebrate the lives that you saved this month. I don't want to gloss over that. There were at least 4 individuals that in this report had overdosed. And the staff quickly administered Narcan and saved those lives. That's big time. The fact that programming continues to increase almost weekly, new opportunities, and Chad, you're exactly right. This is not just about programming. This is about restoring families, providing hope and purpose within our community. I will tell you, just in as an anecdote, one of the men who was participating in one of the job trainings at the regional food bank, when he was at the food bank, a person said, "Are you actually residing in the Oklahoma County Detention Center right now?" And he said, "Yes, sir, I am." And this individual said to the participant, "Somebody must really love you." He said, "Yes, sir, I feel like my county does. I feel like my community does." It's good stuff. I will tell you that we had a conflict in scheduling, and the cab was not able to meet in the month of July, but we got all that resolved. We've been assured that that will never happen again. We were double booked, and don't know if that was our fault or somebody else's fault, but we got it all resolved, and we're moving forward in a very positive manner. On July the 13th at 2:30 p.m., June Elkins Baker, a member of CAB, and I had the privilege of administering and participating in focus groups with the men and women who reside at the Oklahoma County Detention Center. I want to tell this committee, this trust, that when we're able to go in, whether that's Aaron Engelkey, myself, June Elkins Baker, Pastor Douglas, anybody on our CAB, Citizens Advisory Board, we go in and we say we're here on behalf of the trust. Stephen Buck has made it very clear that I don't represent him under any circumstances, and I appreciate that, Stephen. But the people that we talk to, I'm teasing when I say that. The people that we talk to are very, very appreciative that their voices are heard in this meeting. I will tell you that we tried something a little different this last time when we conducted the focus groups. June and I went into the female pod, and they were all out. They were all out of their pod at 2:30 in the afternoon, and it was a very positive environment. And the staff asked us if we would like to just talk to everyone all at once, or if we would want to have smaller groups. And we said, well, goodness, let's try talking to everybody at once so that everybody can participate. I will tell you, and I would say this, if the women were here today, it was a little bit of a mob mentality. When somebody would say something, it kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger. And June and I thought that probably we get more and honest responses when we're in smaller groups, but there must have been about 30, felt like about 30 women, 25, 30 women who were participating in the discussion on the female side. And here's what they had to say. They said that in a perfect world, they would love more communication, more opportunities to communicate with their family on a regular basis. Several of the women explained that they're indigent and they get a 5-minute free phone call each week, but by the time they actually connect with a family member, that 5-minute phone call can turn into what seemed like about 30 seconds. And so they said that they would love to be able to find ways to have more opportunities to stay in communication with their family, with their support groups. Even though they were out of the cell and it felt really good, they said ideally they would love to be out of their cell more, particularly on weekends. They understood that staffing levels may prevent that, but they would love more time out of their cells, especially on the weekend. They said that the food quality has improved, but they would like larger portions. They feel like that their portions aren't big enough. They indicated that bed bugs continue to be a problem in the detention center. And they stated that they would love a more comprehensive orientation process for new residents when they first arrive, to really know how to use a kiosk and where to go and how to make requests to staff and all the things that may be a part of residing in the Oklahoma County Detention Center. They would love a more comprehensive orientation program. They said that they could also use more programming. They did tell us that staff interactions are improving, but they did say that access to health care, mental health care, continues to be an issue, and they lamented over the fact that when one person makes a mistake, they feel like the entire group is punished, and that's demoralizing to them. I will tell you this, something significant happened. There were 25, 30 women out, and if you know June Elkins Baker, let me just give credit where credit's due. The way that she talks to people, the way that she makes them feel, she literally validated every person in the room. And at the end, one of the women stood up and said, "Can we circle up and hold hands?" Staff too. So we just made a big circle instantaneously and we held hands. And the woman who asked to do that said an affirmation, a prayer for the group. She asked if it would be okay, and everybody said sure. And she said a word of thanks that she felt heard that day. And at the end of that time of holding hands and all being together, the woman that was next to me was weeping, and she said, "It feels so good to be connected. So good to be connected." So thank you. Thank you for hearing their voices, and thank you for letting us include their point of view in this report. When we talked to the men, it was a smaller group, a group of about 6, and here's what they had to say. They too said the quality of the food is improving, but the portions, the rations, need to be bigger. One gentleman indicated that he is a vegetarian and the diversity in food options are not what they should be. He said they're pretty limited. They said that they could use more programming. They would appreciate more time out of their cells on the weekends. They did state that there is a need for greater diversity and spiritual guidance. But they said that the bed bug situation is improving. They said more communication with their family would also be helpful, and that better, quicker access to healthcare services is needed. One of the men who participated had previously participated in one of our focus groups, and he said, "Could you please tell the trust, thanks for coming back. It feels really good to be heard." Mr. Chair, I would say that I've got a commitment from Michael Washington, and I'm going to lean on Jody and others to help us process through all of the information that we have collected. They're going to do this in one of our CAB meetings that's going to be upcoming, to process through all of the information that we have collected now over the course of a year from the individuals that reside at the detention center. And they are going to help us look for themes, for recommendations that we can officially bring back to you for your consideration. We're excited about that. Final thing I would say is that our Community Relations Committee subcommittee is still on track to begin the process of hosting listening sessions and community conversations in and around the community so that we can go out into the community, hear what people are thinking, hear what concerns people may have, and make sure that members of our community at large truly understand the progress that's being made in our Oklahoma County Detention Center. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments for the speaker? Mr. Buck?
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the work you're doing and having, along with Pastor Scobie, previously served on the CAB, value the work that you're doing and what that model should lead to us in terms of those recommendations and themes. But your report today is going to meet, I'm going to ask an inquiry, and Madam DA, you may have some context on this. We each have our unique jurisdictional roles as established within the trust and the covenant document and everything. But is there anything that would be prohibitive from your focus groups from periodically having a single trust member participate and view those?
Would love it. Would absolutely love it. Open door, and as a matter of fact, Mr. Buck, I can be intentional about communicating with the entire trust when our focus groups are going to occur, and if you are available, if anybody is available and would like to come along, that would be fantastic. So, I mean, I'm saying we would love to have you. I'm not an attorney, obviously.
As long as our parameters of meeting are met, I would volunteer to participate in one of those.
Thank you.
If not, thank you, Mr. Steele.
Thank you.
Speaker Steele. Appreciate your report. You owe me that visit
Yes,
to
sir.
the
Food bank.
food day. Yep.
We're going to make it happen.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Don't forget or I'll fire you.
Yeah.
Okay. Third time we've tried to do this now. Okay, Mr. Whittington, I apologize. I obviously can't count very well, nor read. So would entertain your report from SIU, which is very important. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. So I'm investigator Whittington, work at the SIU. For the month of June or July, the investigations unit received 32 new cases. You can see on the PowerPoint of the breakdown of some of what those cases are. On July 31st, we actually had somebody come into jail who was arrested by an outside agency. He tried bringing in 21 grams of methamphetamine. And then he tried to dispose of it. We were able to find it and backtracked it, everything on camera. We watched the methamphetamines for 12 hours to prove that it was his. Going back on camera on the recorded part of it, and that individual is actually going to be charged with trafficking of meth as well as introduction of contraband. So that's just kind of an example of some of the things that we deal with. I want to talk about 3 specific cases that we're working on, that I'm working on. One of them is a mail case, happened in the end of 2022. It was contraband. If I can approach, show you all an example. What that is an example of some of the mail contraband that we receive and how it's packaged. If you look at it, it appears to be legitimate. It's actually sealed up, so you can't get anything out of it. I've already tested everything in there. It's not, no, it's not meth. It's not fentanyl. It's nothing as far as that. So, no, you're fine to touch it. That's why I was touching it. But if you look at it, it says legal documents, blah, blah, blah. This is how we receive a lot of contraband. I won't say all of it, but this is how we receive a lot of contraband. People have learned how to liquefy meth, fentanyl, K2. They're spraying it on paper. They're putting it on carts. They're drying it out. They're sending it through the mail. And we're getting it as legal mail. We're getting it as however they can mail it in. If you look at that envelope, you'll notice there's really no identifications to it other than a stamp that says it was mailed on August 1st in Oklahoma City. So these cases, whenever we receive them in SIU, whenever we get the legal packages, we actually call the law firms to try and verify if they sent something. Most times they're like, oh, we didn't send that. Some occasionally they will. This case is actually going to be more of an informational because we're not going to be able to prove who mailed this in. The case I want to talk about is actually one where they mailed it in, and during the course of my investigation, I was able to identify somebody from Colorado. He addressed everything from Oklahoma, tried to make it appear that it was mailed from an Oklahoma City law firm, but he didn't take into account that the postage stamp that the post office puts on there showed it was from Denver. I actually worked with the U.S. Postal Inspector's office, or the U.S. Postal Inspector, as well as a Metro Drug Task Force for the Denver area. I was able to identify this individual, and I presented charges to the Oklahoma County District Attorney Office, who's accepted them. And we're going to be charging him, as well as the inmate that he worked with, on trafficking, or I'm sorry, conspiracy to traffic and distribution of CDS, fentanyl. So the second case is a death case. I'm going to preface this with, as Under Sheriff Anderson Wells knows, the cases that we work inside the jail, we have a much harder time trying to solve these cases just because of the fact that, unlike the investigators or detectives or deputies or officers out on the street, we don't have the concerned family members. We don't have the concerned people who are coming to us saying, here, help us, and give us in their phone, give us in their property, trying to help us figure out what happened to their loved ones. Because there is kind of an unwritten rule that you don't snitch in jail, right? So it's harder for us to try to get information. But fortunately on this death case, pardon me, I'm gonna be very vague, just because it is an ongoing investigation. I am on page 12 right now of my narrative, and I will be presenting, amongst other charges, murder in the first degree on a couple of individuals, because I was able to, throughout the course of my investigation, identify some people who assisted in an overdose. Because this is an overdose case, we were waiting for the ME's report to come back. Came back acute fentanyl toxicity as one of the causes of death. So because of that and everything, all the information I gathered throughout the course of investigation of trying to investigate this death, I'm able to present charges to the district attorney's office for a couple individuals. So, like I said, it's ongoing. I've already screened it with the first assistant, Michael Fry, presented her with all the facts on the case. She had some things that she wanted me to work on for homework or follow up on investigations. Those have already been done. I've got everything that I need. Right now, I'm just, like I said, I'm on page 12 of an unknown number of pages for this narrative because I got to be able to put this case together. It's up here, but I got to put it on paper. So, third one is overdoses. On one day, we had 3 overdoses in one pod at the same time. I responded up there. We were able to do some self searches. And throughout the course of the investigation, I was able to figure out where it came from, who brought it in, what they were selling it for, everything else. So I've already talked with First Assistant Michael Fry on this case, discussed it with her, and she's decided on what kind of charges she would like for me to present. Amongst them, I'm also going to charge distribution of fentanyl, introduction of contraband, a couple others.
What are we looking at in the photo? Is that tobacco laced with fentanyl?
That is tobacco laced with fentanyl and fake Xanax bars.
That'll do it.
The way the way we see fentanyl, besides being liquefied and melted in, we'll see it in fake pills, we'll see it in fake blue oxys, the M30 pills, we'll see it in fake Xanax bars. We'll get it tobacco laced with fentanyl. It's crazy the way we see fentanyl in that jail, and it just kind of comes in every which way you can think of. And that's kind of it.
Any questions?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Yes.
The legalities concerning legal mail. I know with the NCIC, that contract was recently approved, wasn't it? Is legal mail contemplated in that? Where I don't know where the case law is. I mean, it's are they still allowed legal mail? Or they have a right to legal mail, is I guess a better word, or is that gonna be scanned in as electronic process as well?
So there are some companies that have the ability to do legal mail and do the scanning where they have to assign the attorneys a unique PIN code, and there's some back and forth. I know that they are in the process of developing something like that. We'll still have to accept legal mail, but the difference is that that's all we'll be accepting is the legal mail, so we can screen it more thoroughly. And the calling the attorneys of record and making sure that they're the ones that actually sent that, that's a new initiative that we started, 3 months ago. It'll just free up staff to be able to thoroughly review that mail that comes in.
Do you have an estimation of how much your, the mail that comes in every day is gonna decrease? I mean, I would imagine 90 to 95%. It's gonna be significant, I would think.
It's going to be significant. It's going to be a big thing for us. A good thing. Sorry.
Any other questions for Mr. Whittington?
I do. First, I'd like to say, I think you have as difficult a job as anybody that works in that building, especially with the creativity that they are able to use and the cunning ability to try to get things in through the mail in other ways. And I just want to make sure I understand this right. So they can basically just look up a law firm and the address, go get an ink blotter made, stamp it on an envelope, and it didn't actually even come from the law firm.
Exactly. And they'll also get, a lot of what we see is they'll get red stamps that says like legal mail. I've seen those almost 90% of the time on all the legal mail. It's all fake. They just go order them and get them made. So and then it comes to investigations, and that's where we take the time from what we're doing to try and contact these law firms and try and track down and see if this is something that's actually supposed to be there or not.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you very much. Yes, Chief. You have something to add to that? Good. Glad to have you.
Thank you. You asked, I think, about the mail. We're working on a program now where we can track the mail that comes in, so we know how many letters, how many packages that are coming through at the jail over there now and where it's going. So working with one of our IT people, trying to develop a program so we'll have a better count on just exactly how much mail we currently handle. So that's in the works.
Very good.
Thank you, Chief. Ms. Whittington, thank you, and convey our thanks to the rest of the staff of SIU. It's a very small, close-knit group. You're doing the Lord's work along with everybody else that works in that building. Let's move on to item 9, I believe. Oh, do we need to accept that report? No? Okay. I better not say that. We have 2 quick items here that ought to go quickly. Discussion, possible action for the Chief Executive Officer to enter into employment and consulting services or contracts to perform services for the authority and related items to the Oklahoma County Detention Center, not to exceed $5,000 per month. This is a move to ease the work for everybody all around the table, especially the staff, and expediting those small dollar contracts. So anything you'd like to say about this, Mrs. Garner?
I don't have a lot to say about it other than there are times where my staff or myself, we would benefit from expertise, consultation, and having the ability to execute a contract and take care of it quickly. It just eliminates the need for me to wait until the following month to get approval from the board. So.
Is there a motion or any other questions, discussion on this item? Chad, motion? Is there a second? Sorry, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mrs. Campisi, please call the roll. We have a motion and a second. Yes.
Yes.
I'm just trying to understand something.
Yes.
Yes.
Excuse me, sir. Our public session was earlier in our meeting here and you're interrupting this business. Yes. This is the Criminal Justice Authority meeting. That's correct, sir. Please let us proceed. Mrs. Campisi?
Yes.
You're here, yes?
Yeah.
Sorry. I never said that. Public session is over. Thank you very much. We're moving on. That's it. That motion passed 7-0. Thank you very much. Let's move on to item 10. Similar discussion on the chief executive officer to enter contracts to perform maintenance services at the Oklahoma County Detention Center with said authority not to exceed expenditures of $10,000 per month. This is in order to facilitate procurements to not have to wait on the board meeting once a month. Same item, same issue. Any comments? Any questions? Is there a motion?
Second.
I appreciate that. Motion and second. Mrs. Campisi, would you call the roll, please? Yes.
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 Yeah.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We are going to move item 11 until after executive session. There are some items in that executive session that will touch on item 10. It's number 12 is our next regularly scheduled meeting is the day after Labor Day. That's September 5th, 2023. I assume that's okay with everybody since it's not on Labor Day. Anyone have any comments before we move to go into executive session? Entertain a motion to enter executive session, please. Motion and a second, please.
Motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion? Moved and seconded to move into executive session. Mrs. Campisi, would you call the roll? Yes.
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 We will move into executive session and then reconvene afterwards. Thank you. you ready? All right, we're ready to return from executive session. Thank you very much. Is there a motion to return and continue our agenda? Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, please, to return from executive session, please, Mrs. Campisi, call the roll. Yes.
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 All right, where are we? We're returning, so we're back on number 15. Whoops, excuse me. That's the action on the National Inmate Survey at the Oklahoma County Detention Center, asked for by the Bureau of Justice Statistics. Correct. We've had that discussion. Is there a motion or any action to be taken on this?
I have a motion.
Yes, sir. Mr.
Motion to
Alexander.
approve the request of BGS contingent upon agreement of parties as to the logistics.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Buck. There's a motion on the floor and a second. Mrs. Campisi, call the roll, please. For and against. Yes.
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 Thank you. It's unanimous. Go to number 16, which I think there is no action on 16, if I remember correctly. And then let's go back to item 11. That is the discussion and possible action to approve the consulting services agreement with Savage Corrections Consulting LLC. Having had that discussion, is there a motion? Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mrs. Campisi, call the roll. All in favor and against? Yes.
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 Thank you very much. Passes unanimously. I believe we're at the last item, which is any comments? Items for the good of the order? If not, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Mrs. Campisi, call the roll for adjournment. Yes.
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 We are adjourned.